Shin Yusong addresses Yoo Jung-hyuk as Oppa, which is what a Korean girl would call her older brother or other older guys that are close to her. But even though Kim Duk-ja is only a little bit older than Jung-hyuk, Yusong addresses Duk-ja differently. She calls him Ajushi or Mr. It's the same way how Ji-hae and Damun call Duk-ja. These teenagers call Duk-ja that way to tease him though, but I think it's a little different on Yusong's case. You see, I think she calls him Mr. out of respect. She's a very polite and good-mannered child after all. So it's like respect towards someone who is much older and more experienced. Like towards a parent. Duk-ja himself had said that the relationship between a supporting constellation and its incarnation is like between that of a parent and child. So Duk-ja officially sponsoring Yusong is the same as adopting her legally. And similar to some adoptive parents, he doesn't force her with anything. He's also very open to her. He's honest about what he lacks and what their new relationship will entail. But he promises her many things so that she won't regret staying with him. He's doing his best to convince her, like he's the one who is more desperate for the deal. But unlike his previous negotiations, he has no intention of scamming her. Well, making himself more attractive to constellations because he has his own incarnation does bring him a big advantage, but I doubt that it was his main intention. Yusong is the one who will benefit the most if she will be under his care anyway, so I think he genuinely wanted to help her the best way possible. Besides, even before she had agreed to be his incarnation, he had already showered her with gifts that other incarnations would be jealous of. After all, she was the only incarnation in Korea to get that much support. And that's all because of him. He's like a father who spoils his little girl with the prettiest dresses and the most expensive toys. Gosh, she's so lucky to have such a rich daddy. Sadly, there's presently a limit to how much Duk-ja can do for her because he's not a constellation. Not yet at least. For now, the only things he can do as her sponsor is to support and to encourage. But even with these very few options, he already tried to give her the best of what is within his capability. Although Duk-ja had already given her the best growth packages, that's not yet enough for him. It bothered him so much that he cannot lend her powers, nor can he provide her a stigma, like what other constellations could do for their incarnations. What more could he have provided for her once he becomes a constellation? And what else could he have done for her once he becomes her father? It didn't take that long for Yusong to decide on Duk-ja's proposal. She has already decided even before he formally asked. Besides, after all those things he had already done for her by that time, who wouldn't make the same choice that she did? Anyway, now that the contract has been agreed upon, their relationship has become official. Well, even without those formalities, they would still be treating each other like family members anyway. Duk-ja treats Yusong like how an actual father would treat his daughter, while Yusong trusts and cherishes Duk-ja as she would to her actual father. Their relationship is actually much stronger and deeper than most biological father-daughter relationships out there. Of course, their relationship can also be seen in several other ways, but whatever. To me, they're daddy and baby girl. Since Yusong is a character of Duk-ja's favorite web novel, he already knows her very well even before they met. And the more they interact, the more he understands her. His understanding of her increases almost as fast as with Jung-hyuk's. He had been protecting Jung-hyuk because he needs the protagonist to survive, or so he claims at least. But with Yusong, it's the opposite. Protecting her will lead to Seoul's destruction, and of course, with that, he may die. But on the moment he recognized her, his immediate action was to protect her from danger. Well, Dokja claims that he's doing it for Junghyuk's sake. However, Junghyuk himself would not even hesitate to kill her if it will guarantee the world's survival. And Soo-young thinks the same. After all, it will be more practical and efficient to choose the easy way out of a scenario. That kind of opportunity doesn't come by often. But as usual, Dokja makes a decision that drives Soo-young crazy. Dokja himself had known that killing Yusong won't really affect his journey to survive the ruined world anyway. He's not exactly the good-natured type like Sang-ah, so it didn't make any sense. It's not Dokja's first time to choose to do things the hard way, but last time, his primary reason for taking the difficult path is for everyone to survive in the long run. But this time, it's more of for a personal reason. I think it's safe to say that he went through all that trouble not because he can't let a little girl die like how Sang-ah feels. He simply doesn't want the character Shin Yusong to die. Junghyuk genuinely cares for Yusong as well, but since he is technically the hero of the story, I guess he is somewhat obliged to choose Seoul over her. Unlike with Dokja, who chose her over Seoul. Well, Dokja can deny his true reason for not wanting Yusong to die all he wants. But who was the one that got very furious when Junghyuk tries to kill his baby girl? Junghyuk even tried to reason with him, but Dokja doesn't give a damn. So, even if Junghyuk is someone very important to him, Dokja won't hesitate to threaten and to make an enemy out of that guy if Junghyuk harms his baby girl. That's how protective Dokja is towards his baby girl. Our Yusong is very protective towards her daddy too. She worries a lot if something bad happens to him, or might happen to him. And look how menacing she has become when he died. Who would have expected that the innocent-looking regular girl can become this angry? Although Yusong is not aware of Dokja's ability to possess characters, she quickly realized that Dokja had been there with them in this scene, even though he died. It's like she had believed that her dad would be there to protect her whenever she's in danger. You know, like a daughter believing her dead father is watching over her from heaven. Oh my god, that made me cry a bit. Wait. Anyway, I've also noticed that whenever Dokja gets separated from the team, Yusong is usually the one who calls out for him last, or will be the last one to look back at him. In other words, she is usually, if not always, the last to let him go. It's like she is very uncomfortable with the idea of being separated from him, or rather, she prefers not to be apart from him at all. I think it's safe to tell that she's a bit clingy to him. And whenever they reunite, she'll be among the first to rush to him and welcome him. It makes me emotional whenever I look at her expression on this scene. This is when she realized that he had come back to life. We can see a mix of relief, thankfulness, and happiness. Moments before that, she only felt rage and despair. But just the sight of him alive had given her a reason to live again. Actually, Yusong had already given up on living. After finding out that she will terrorize Seoul in the future, she was willing to sacrifice herself for everyone else's sake. Sounds familiar, huh? But of course, her daddy won't ever let that happen. Dokja is aware of his limitations, so he knows that his current abilities won't be enough to keep Yusong alive. She needed to have the capacity to help herself. Maybe he wanted Yusong to become stronger because having the Beast Lord on his team would be a very wonderful asset. But the way I see it, he's more like a father who trains his daughter to fight so that she can defend herself. Fortunately, not only is Yusong already very talented, but she is very hardworking too. Being able to last until the 5th scenario with just her wits and resourcefulness makes her very remarkable already. Even Dokja was impressed. So, those growth packages he provided for her just helped in unleashing her full potential much sooner. But even with her impressive growth, they still don't have enough time on their hands. So this made Dokja do drastic measures to make her level up as soon as possible. His method is kinda peculiar, but interesting though. The idea of someone getting stronger after seeing others in danger must have come from the action novels he has been reading. But of all the people he could have used for our little Yusong to be worried about, he chose himself. But Yusong is pretty much as angelic as Sang-a anyway, so she would have worried the same for anyone as long as they're not an enemy. With that, he didn't really need to volunteer for that role. In one perspective, Dokja might have chosen himself because he'd rather be the human sacrifice than having other people be sacrificed for his mission to make his daughter stronger. But in another perspective, Dokja might have thought that the best candidate to make Yusong anxious enough that would make her forced to awaken her power is himself. So in other words, I think Dokja had subconsciously considered himself as the best hostage material for Yusong. Oh my! Well, now that his baby girl has become stronger, he lets her fight if she wants to. But even if she has no battle capacity, he will still be protecting her anyway. If they are physically close to each other, you can count on him to shield her if something dangerous happens. Actually, if only he could have things his way, he would have preferred that she won't do any fighting at all. Even if Yusong is like already in beast mode ready to kill someone, he'd rather not have her hands get dirty. In the Peaceland arc, Yusong wasn't the only one who didn't want to harm the small people there. It was the same for Dokja actually. It also breaks his heart to see them hurt. But if it means this will lessen the burden of his baby girl, he can easily become heartless. I think that's the reason why he did not even bother to tell Yusong about the option of not harming the residents of Peaceland. Well, not until she asked about it. Options that will be a disadvantage to his little girl are automatically disregarded. But since Yusong herself says that it's what she wants, he changed his stance. Even if he's worried about the consequences, he decided to go against the scenario requirements if that's what his baby girl wants. Of course, he'll do all the fighting because he cannot let his little girl do something dangerous. But since Yusong specifically requested that she does the fighting herself, that's the only time he changed plans and let her do it. But even if he just stayed on the sidelines, he was prepared to jump right in if things get dangerous. And he almost did, until she stopped him. It's not that he didn't trust her. She actually exceeds his expectations very often, and it makes him very proud. It just never crossed his mind that his baby girl had done some battle training. Actually, even if he did know about it, I think he would still worry. He's that much of a worry freak. Speaking of which, there's this time when he was panicking about her leaving him for Jung-hyuk. And for the first time in the series, he became seriously conscious about his looks just because his baby girl might leave him for a handsome man. It's like a father being jealous of another man for his daughter's affection. Anyway, since Dokja is a daddy that has no plans of letting go of his little girl's hand anytime soon, he went as far as wanting her to not meet Junghyuk ever. It's like a father who doesn't want his daughter to get married. If Dokja hates the idea of his daughter abandoning him, he doesn't like leaving her behind either. Not if he can help it, at least. So, even if he'll be going to somewhere dangerous, but he knows he can look after her anyway, he would rather have his baby girl by his side. I think that's one of the reasons why he brought her along in the 6th scenario, even if Junghyuk thinks it's a bad idea. Dokja may be protective of Yusong, but he's not overprotective to the point that he would make her miss opportunities for growth. He lets her witness harsh realities no matter how hurt she would be from that. Dokja might appear cruel for doing that to her, but I think that's his way of making her stronger emotionally and mentally. Besides, he will be there to comfort her before she breaks down. And if ever she does fall down, he will make sure to pick her up immediately. He would also comfort her with his embrace if she went through a hard time. Actually, all of Dokja's gestures showing care and affection make Yusong feel at ease and treasured. So when Dokja encourages and compliments her, this makes her very, very happy. Even Sang-a can't help but notice and point it out. Perhaps Yusong isn't used to compliments. After all, Yusong doesn't think highly of herself. She even sees herself as a bad person. Reminds me of someone. Anyway, she also thinks her presence would only be a burden to Dokja and his girls. I mean, teammates. But despite all that, Dokja was the first person she met in the ruined world who believed in her. He also told her that she is someone worthy to live. He had no regrets in choosing her over Seoul. No wonder Yusong ended up becoming very attached to him. Yusong's attachment towards Dokja started with a little trust, but sooner than later, it became intense admiration and devotion. In such a short span of time, she already had this same level of loyalty towards Dokja as the rest of the gang. She had come to trust him so much that she is willing to obey whatever he tells her to. About this scene, although she was begging him to not make her kill those people, she would have done it anyway if he asked her to. Although Dokja's friends trust him a lot, they are also aware of how much of a liar he could be. Baby girl already figured that out even in the short while she spent with him. It shows that she had been observing him very carefully. Dokja is quite observant towards Yusong as well. He quickly notices when she becomes sleepy or when she dozes off. Speaking of sleep, Dokja telling Yusong to rest in this scene may be because of the scenario requirement, but I can't help seeing this like a scene of a father telling his child to go to sleep. Dokja has no clue what being a good father is like, but it's nice to see his efforts in becoming one. They don't exactly need to be in a dangerous situation for Dokja to show how much he cares for Yusong. Yusong is such a lovely girl. She's the kind of person anyone would still care about even if she didn't have any overpowered abilities. She's also the type that openly expresses gratitude. She is thankful to the people who had been nice to her and she returns the favor. Since most youngsters tend to annoy him, Dokja must have felt strange when he encountered a child like her. I think it's because of that thankful nature of hers that she worked so hard to become stronger. Becoming more powerful would indeed benefit her, but she was doing it mainly for Dokja's sake. It's the most she could do for the man who chose her over the world. Too bad she wasn't able to tell him what she wanted to do for him once she becomes stronger. Our baby girl is a little shy. Oh well. Even if Dokja didn't know about Yusong's fate or incredible potential, most likely he wouldn't have treated her any differently at all. And even if Dokja didn't provide her many things, Yusong would most likely have treated Dokja the same as well. Of course, who wouldn't be grateful towards the person who still picks you despite all odds? Dokja choosing Yusong over Seoul clearly shows how much he loves her. Those kinds of decisions don't necessarily have to be between lovers. It can be between very close friends or, of course, between family members. So even if they're not related by blood, Dokja and Yusong's father and daughter bond is very strong. And that's why Kim Dokja and Shin Yusong are totally daddy and baby girl. How about you? What do you think of Dokja and Yusong's relationship? It would be lovely if you can share your thoughts in the comment section. There's more between Dokja and Yusong, of course. I haven't even discussed about the relationship between Dokja and Yusong's grown-up version yet. We'll have that covered in another video instead. By the way, baby girl doesn't really have daddy's affection all to herself, and that's because there's competition. The sibling rivalry will be fun to talk about too. So, if you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. This also helps me determine what kind of videos you guys would love to see. And of course, if you want to be notified to the release of videos like this, please subscribe. Thanks for watching and hope to see you again. Take care!